Welcome to another episode of the Playbook by Charlie. Before we get started, please hit that like and subscribe and following if you are not. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're a returner, thanks for tuning in. Today's guest is a real estate professional serving Los Angeles and the surrounding areas. She specializes in helping entrepreneurs, investors, and first-time home buyers. You might have caught her on the Michelle Barone show or on TikTok where she was dropping all of her knowledge about real estate, life, traveling, food, you name it. She has over 25,000 social media followers across her many platforms. Please welcome Amber Perkins. Welcome to the Playbook.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you. How exciting.
Awesome, awesome. So before we jump in, I got to ask you a question. If you
Yes.
had to teach a class on singing, dancing, or cooking, what would it be?
No, it would have to be cooking.
It would be
I
cooking.
I
Okay.
like all those things. I don't think I am to the level where I can be teaching a class, maybe a cooking class, something not too what's the word? Not too complex. That's what I was trying. But yeah, singing and dancing, that's a bit out of my, expertise.
Expertise, I feel that. What would you cook?
I would teach people, let's see, what can you teach someone that's easy? I mean, spaghetti is easy to make. Anybody can make
Yeah, you can go wrong with spaghetti.
burgers. I would say mac and cheese. Um, there's so many ways to make chicken. I feel like I would do that and some sides, mashed potatoes. I will say I make a mean mashed potatoes. So like that. Yeah.
Love that, love that. Before we all get too hungry, let's jump into it. So, share with people how you got into this roller coaster of an industry, real estate. Floor is yours.
That is a perfect word for it. Roller coaster. So it's a little bit long, but I'll shorten it a little bit. So growing up, I was pretty much exposed to it a lot, but I was never interested in it. So my dad was a mortgage broker, had his own business and everything. Like literally, that's all he did, just loans, loans, loans. I think back then though,
Yeah,
because I believe he became a mortgage broker in the 90s, early 2000s.
yeah,
And you could also sell real estate and not have like a separate real estate license.
yep.
So he was doing mostly loans, but he did a few homes on the side.
Mhm.
Um, and then my mom, she for a period she was a notary as well, and she also worked in escrow. So I just had exposure. Again, I was not interested in it, so I had no idea what was going on.
Mhm.
And then, you know, over time, I guess the seed was planted, and over time, I was originally in healthcare. So I went to school, I got my bachelor's of science in kinesiology. So my original plan was to become a sports physician assistant. Because I was also an athlete growing up. And then COVID happened. COVID happened, and I was like, you know what? I cannot do this. It was like COVID in the beginning when COVID, like nobody knew about it. Everybody was scared.
Yes.
I was like, no, I can't. I'm not going to be in this field anymore. I can't do it. So I switched. And then during COVID, you just had a lot of time in your hands. So you just explored different opportunities. I got into like currency trading for a little bit,
Mhm.
investments, stuff like that. And then um, I think after watching enough HGTV and Selling Sunset and all those things,
Yeah, okay.
finally looked into real estate. I actually ended up taking some courses online at LA Community College. And yeah, I took my courses and then I actually ended up registering for the exam, passed it, and here we are. So yeah, that's my little insight into that.
Take me through that time, the period of when you got into the industry from 2022 to now, how things are different. What was your learning curve like?
How much time do you have? So
Long as you
uh,
need.
so in the beginning, I didn't know anything, right? Because for those of you who don't know, when you get your real estate license, basically what they teach you in the courses and on the exam is pretty much like law stuff, like how to not get sued, just how many miles are in an acre. Like it's nothing that will help you sell real
How many
estate.
miles?
Yeah. So
That's good.
um, we were never taught how to market, never taught how to go out and get clientele, any of those things. So when I first started, I had no idea what I was doing. And my dad did loans, but I needed someone who actually like sold houses, you know?
Yep.
So I ended up shadowing and like seeking mentorship under my friend's dad because he was an actual real estate broker selling homes. And so I started there. I still really didn't know much. I was learning a lot because there's so much to learn in this industry. I mean,
Yes.
2022, 4 years ago. And in those 4 years, I have learned so much. Like, there's nothing that I can train anybody for. It's just like it's a learn as you go business.
Yeah.
Uh, so it was rough. I did not ever like the prospect, like, or the aspect, I would say, of cold calling, which is when you call strangers and see if they want to stay home. I was never into that.
Yeah.
So my thing was social media. And this is when I started, when I first started, I made a TikTok account. And what convinced me to make a TikTok account of all things instead of just posting on Instagram that I already had? I don't know. Um, but yeah, I was making a TikTok account and then I was just playing with it, just posting little things here and there. And then from the first post that I posted about real estate, it's the Jay-Z song. My name is Hov. Like, let me introduce myself. And that's what I did. And then for some reason, I mentioned like I was my name, I'm a real estate agent, Los Angeles, and then that blew up. Like that got me, I think, like 600 followers on
Wow.
TikTok
Wow.
immediately. And I was like, oh, okay. So then, like from there, I just started posting more home tours. And then as I would learn more about real estate, because I would listen to the podcasts,
Mm.
I would read books. Like I read a lot of books. I was on YouTube. I literally I would watch Matthew Garland. You know who that is? I would watch him um on his YouTube. He's a mortgage broker outside from New York
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of his videos go viral. So I would watch him learn more about the loans and just different things to help buyers. And I would take that knowledge and I would post it
Mm-hmm.
on TikTok. And then from there, I started growing a following pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then from there, I would actually get people reaching out to me, hey, like I'm interested in buying, but I never knew about this. Because a lot of people think, oh, I got to put the 20% down, like all that kind of stuff. So I would like post about it and talk about it. And then, yeah, I would get people coming to me inquiring about the whole real estate process. And so that's how I attracted a lot of first-time buyers, especially like in my age group because, being 90s babies, a lot of us during COVID, we
Yeah.
were not like in the headspace to buy a house. So a lot of people were just asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward to 2026, I would say like 90% of my business is social media. And in the first year, it was a little rough because as interest rates were climbing a little bit, I got a lot of people who were looking to lease. And so that's what I just started doing. I just helped people. I was like an apartment locator. Literally, I was helping people lease out different apartments because I still needed to make some money.
Yeah.
And I would say in like probably 6 or 7 months, I helped like 12 people lease apartments. Like it was crazy. Now I just like just constantly just spitting out that knowledge to people, and people now see me as like an LA real estate agent on social media, and oh, she could help me with my questions and as a first time home buyer. So it's really helped leading up to now.
No, that's amazing. And you touched on a few things. We could probably have a 2 hour long discussion about what you learn before you actually get into real estate as far as the marketing and how to get business and all that. Because there's also a gap in you had mentioned your dad is there's a gap because my dad is also in real estate. And as far as what they did and what we're supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? And both things work. It's just a matter of the industry is also changing. So it's almost like you have to combine both because what worked however many years ago might not be as effective as it is in today's world. A lot of it is what are people do? What are you doing on TikTok and Instagram? And all that stuff is very important. My last question I want to talk about as far as on the posting side of it, Were you already posting on Instagram?
I was already posting on Instagram. I never really had a fear of posting. I kind of got over that during COVID because I don't know if you've ever heard of the Forex movement when a lot of people were doing that. I
Uh,
was one of
who's it by?
so Forex was like it was trading currencies, but a lot of people were
Okay.
promoting it. Like a lot of people were promoting it on social media. So I would post about that all the time. And I that's where I kind of got over my fear of posting consistently. So I would just be posting. And then on Instagram, um I feel like it was just easier for me to do it on TikTok though, because I did not have everybody that I knew on TikTok. I was just posting to strangers. Whereas Instagram, I don't want everybody in my business. So, but I
That makes sense.
slowly realized that I needed to post about my business if I wanted to get clients.
And it's funny how we always, when you're not posting at first, you go from, like I don't want everybody to know what I'm doing to like, please everybody know what I'm doing at every time of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
So, as a realtor, most realtors I would say are get paid a certain way, such as 1099. So, as far as the system for a self-employed individual to buy, do you think that that is set up the correct way in today's industry?
No, I feel like so first of all, to clarify, so realtors we only get paid 1099. There's no W-2. We don't work under someone. We're independent contractors. So in that aspect, we're solely 1099. Um do I feel like it's set up correctly? I mean, yes and no, because no, because when you think about a lot of the loans that are specifically for 1099 individuals, sometimes it comes at a little bit of a higher cost, like in the form of interest rates and things like that.
Yes.
I would say yes, if you're a business owner who happens to have a strong financial profile and you can maybe put more down and kind of mitigate that way. But I just think education is key and preparing yourself is key because you definitely want to be educated and know what you're getting into before, oh, let me get pre-approved. I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay, now I got to use a bank statement loan that's going to be a slightly more higher interest rate and I got to pay more for that, So
Mhm.
it depends. I think it depends.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And about being educated, what's a myth that you believe, or one of the biggest myths that self-employed individuals have as far as buying a home?
I think the biggest myth is that, oh, I can't write anything off, or um, oh, I have to put more down if I'm self-employed. I think the one where they can't write anything off because you still can. That's why there's bank statement loans, right? Um, a lot of self-employed people because it's easy when you have W-2, everything is tracked, your tax returns, like everything is like right there on paper.
Yep.
And they go by gross income. Whereas if you're self-employed, like I am, um, it's about your net income. And then it's like, okay, shoot. Well, and then on top of that, oh, I wrote everything off. Shoot, like, my taxes don't say I make anything because I wrote everything off. So, I would say that is the biggest myth. But also knowing exactly how much to put. Now, a lot of people don't know that. And a lot of people don't realize, hey, I can also use an FHA loan, if I'm self-employed. It doesn't have to be a bigger loan. It doesn't have to be something that is a little bit more complex than, other buyers.
Let's talk about tax write-offs, since you mentioned it. So let's say I'm a self-employed individual, I'm listening to this, and I do write everything off. And at the end of the day, I write things off. I would imagine most self-individuals write everything off. And that is the correct way. You talk about the most powerful people in the country, and they talk to you about how to save on their taxes. So should I continue to write things off? Is that hurting me in the long run? What's something that I can do that to maybe combat this, or some loan programs that I can use if I do write everything off?
So Definitely, I would say the easiest one would be probably a bank statement loan. Like it's based on your bank statements, right? So it doesn't matter if you write things off because I had a client who had to do that. And he ended up qualifying for more than than the conventional loan because his bank statements actually showed that he was depositing a lot more in his account. So I would say that's definitely an option. They look at your bank statements, they see what on average you make per year or per month, right? And then go from there. And Charlie, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can also like if you're investing, I mean, you don't even have to show any tax write-off. You can do a DSCR loan if you wanted to be a business owner and invest with your LLC or your S corp, whatever. Um,
Yes,
and
that is correct.
they don't verify anything with your bank statement. So those are a couple of options that you can use as well. There's
Yes.
also a 1099 loan, right? That you can just use your 1099s.
Yes. 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 This is great. So let's get tactical. So as far as let's stay with the bank statement loan for a second, because again, you are absolutely correct. That is the easiest path if you do choose to go that self-employment route. Let's say I'm self-employed. I'm like, okay, I wrote everything off, but I do put things in my bank statements. What would be the first thing that I should do today if I wanted to buy in 6 to 12 months?
I think the best thing that you should do is contact a real estate agent who can point you to a good loan officer because a lot of people don't realize what it takes. And then on top of that, like realtors, we have our department. We're the ones who negotiate the sale. We do the contracts. We make sure we get your deal, that all of the contingencies are protected, right? But when it comes to numbers specifically, that's when you need to talk to the mortgage professional. And usually, I mean, unless you have one that you know, or one that's your friend or someone that can refer you, usually a realtor is a person who can just, automatically refer you because we have them. We have a lot of them in our contacts. We have the resources to be able to guide you in the right direction. And also talk with your CPA, talk with the person who is doing your taxes, because if you tell them, hey, I want to buy a home soon, and maybe they can, structure your taxes in a way where it shows that you're making more income. I've also had that happen as well, where my friend, she's a doctor, and she wrote everything off, literally everything. And we were able to get her structured in a way because she easily makes like 300 to 400K a year, but it
Mhm.
wasn't showing up, because she wrote everything off. So I would say talk to a mortgage professional, and talk to your accountant.
Yes, yes, I totally agree. Talking to the professionals before you do anything first is always a good step in understanding what your options are and then understanding, how to get from thinking about buying a house to actually getting in that house and talking to your CPA, talking to Miss Amber on the realtor side, and then talking to me on the financing side would be some great options for you. You touched on a really good point earlier, and you said that there aren't a lot of options, or I should say, or the options as far as if you're self-employed are a lot harder than the standard conventional and FHA route. So, in regard to the banks and the financial institutions that make these programs, why do you think they haven't um, been more proactive about putting out more loan programs or easier ways to get into homeownership for self-employed individuals?
That's a great question. I'm not sure. Maybe the bank wants to make sure that they track everything that they're doing. When it comes to, it's really hard to just track someone's self-employed income, right? Because they're self-employed. They don't have a company who's doing all this documentation for them, who is taking out that the Social Security or the Medicare tax that they have to and taken out of their check, and they don't have those like check stubs that shows everything that's coming out. So I feel like it's definitely something that would help them if to help more people get qualified for a mortgage too, as well. And I think that's a really good movement that people need to start looking into. Like, hey, like let's make this a little bit easier for people to get qualified for a mortgage because this is kind of ridiculous. But
I totally agree. I think they need to start making more programs again for self-employed individuals who want to enter homeownership. 10% on a $800,000 home, a $7,000 home, that's a huge savings. And then when you add on top of that the closing costs, now you're looking at this big lump of cash digging into people's 401ks. It's creating a whole different problem that we can talk about another time. All right, so I wanted to get into something a little personal. And I think because when it comes to people who look like us, they're it can be far and few in between in this real estate industry. There's times where I'll go to an event and I'm the only one, the only black person in there at times. So, with your experience being as a black woman in real estate, tell me about that.
so I would say definitely just like most things in life we got to work 10 times harder for, right? The real estate industry is dominated by white males. That is mainly what it is. And when you look at LA, especially the ones who are selling the top of the top homes, the mansions, luxury properties, a lot of them are white males.
Mhm.
And it is very difficult to really, really build a consistent business, especially like in the luxury space where people trust you, that trust factor enough. Because it's already hard enough being a woman in a male dominated industry, but then when you add the color to it, it's a double whammies, right? So in my experience, like, I haven't had, I would say, outwardly racist experiences, but I can tell, like, I go to the brokers opens, which are open houses just for real estate agents.
Yeah.
When I go to the brokers opens in Beverly Hills, um, Palisades, things like that, those very affluent areas where a majority of the demographics are Caucasian, I I instantly feel a sense of, I don't want to say not belonging because I belong anywhere, right? I don't have that mindset where I'm not gonna go because I'm black. That's ridiculous. But it's just a sense like it's like kind of like a click, like I get that sensation when I'm in those areas. And I will still do it every Tuesday. I will still go over there and go look at them, but it's a little bit different and it's very hard. And you would think LA, there's black and brown people everywhere.
Yeah.
We're dominate LA, right? But when it comes to those affluent spaces, the more I would say the more money that is in those rooms, it seems to be like the less color you see. And you know, it's it's very it's very disheartening, but also that makes me want to work 10 times harder as well to prove a lot of people wrong because, a lot of people don't expect maybe like a black girl to be selling like a $10 million home.
Yeah.
And you don't see it very often. Um, but it definitely has challenged me in a way that actually it makes me want to work harder. But it's also stressful as well because I'm just like, "Ugh, dang, like, come on, like it needs to be the norm. Like this is not Atlanta where it everybody there is a black professional and very successful, like it's LA, and it's something that is definitely something that we should take notice of.
Totally agree. And you kind of already answered it, but as far as this sounds like this changes the way you show up for your clients and on your daily things that you do. Um, you know, being in a position where you're at as far as in LA, having the early success that you had, I think that also helps with the confidence because you give off a very strong confidence, and I think going into these rooms that does help you, and it does give you the respect from your peers because you're not going in there kind of timid, and you're going in there with a bit of self-confidence. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah. Definitely confidence is something that you have to, I would say just in this industry period, whether you're white, black, Asian, like you need to have confidence regardless because this is a people-based industry. You're going to be dealing with a lot of people and you have a lot of competition. There's realtors on every corner. Like everybody knows a realtor. There's realtors everywhere. So you definitely need to stand out and have that confidence and not be scared to talk to anybody. And for what? Why would you be scared to talk to, if you want to sell someone a house, you need to be out there. But I read a statistic recently around the real estate industry. Among everybody who's a real estate professional, 5 to 6% of them are Black.
wow.
That's a very, very low number. That means 95% of real estate individuals are not Black.
Hmm.
So I definitely feel like it's important to have those conversations
Yeah.
and show up in those spaces for representation. And especially with our history, with what has happened to Black communities, Black people were not always allowed to get loans. Black people were not allowed to always buy property. And so we need to step up and show out for our ancestors at this point because, even in an industry that is 95% non-Black,
Hmm.
it's important that we definitely help our own people in those spaces. And a majority of my clientele are Black people and they've told me, I wanted to work with someone who looked like me.
Yeah. I love
And
that.
yeah.
And two more questions. In regard to that, that was actually a great stat. Or not a great stat, but I mean, it was or a jaw-dropping stat. Why do you think that is? So why do you think the numbers for Black real estate professionals is so low?
I think a lot of it has to do with a lack of education about the real estate industry. I mean, it's one thing to see people on TV and not even on TV. Like, let's get into that. Even on TV, there's not a lot of us,
Period.
It-
Yeah.
and if it is, it's the ones who are in those Black areas, like Atlanta or
Mhm.
DC, or those areas where it's a lot of Black professionals, but I think it's just a lack of education. A lot of people don't realize how they can buy a home. A lot of people don't know what they need to. A lot of people are just stuck on, I need to get a job. I need to get a job. I need to make money for my family. And that's it. Because, systemic racism is still there. We are still, there are a lot of our communities are still living in poverty and things like that. So a lot of their focus is not necessarily on doing these things, you know?
Hmm.
So I think that has to do with a lot of it. Why?
Yeah, no, I agree. And, maybe in this new generation that we're coming up in, we can be the ones that, one, we're continuing to educate ourselves on things that we can do, but also educate the next generation coming up as far as like, hey, like, this is available to you. This career and down this path is available to you. So, last question. What is, and it can just be about anything, what is the biggest life lesson that you've learned?
You know what? First thing that came to mind, the biggest life lesson is to take advantage of every single opportunity that comes your way. I remember when I was in college, I did not really want to take advantage of being in any leadership positions. I didn't want to really join clubs, I didn't want to do any of that. But when I learned that to get priority registration, I had to do those things. And when I went to CSUN, it was really hard to get classes. Like nobody could get a class because it was a lot of students at the school.
Mhm.
So classes would fill up rather quickly. So to be able to get those classes, I had to do something that would get me priority registration for those classes. And I would join just different leadership positions. I would become a student orientation leader, like those types of things where that allowed me the opportunity to get classes.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like that in the real world, right? We need to take advantage of everything because you never know what doors open up. So literally networking, networking, networking. The phrase is there for a reason. Your network is your net worth. Never know who is watching. You never know who you can meet. You never know what that can lead to. And, just take advantage of every single opportunity that there is out there because if you don't, somebody else will. And somebody else might collect a check. So, yeah,
There you go. There you go. Take every opportunity as it comes. Don't pass nothing up. This was fantastic. Thank you so much, Amber. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you dropping knowledge. You self-employed individuals out there, if you need guidance, if you need help, talk to her. She's the person to talk to when it comes to anything real estate. Amber, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for
of
bringing
course.
insights. Until next time.
Until next time.